Hey, welcome to Angular After Dark, my first live stream. I was just heading to bed because I had a long day and I was up early doing GitHub Satellite. But then an idea struck me. So thank you very much for leaving me sleepless, VJ. Let me see if I can figure out how to share my screen so I can show you what this is about. It should be this one. Yeah, so I have been tweeting a bit about Angular 12, the upcoming version of Angular. And I just tweeted yesterday, probably, that in Angular 12, the view engine build option for applications will be removed. And then VJ asks, what does that mean for Angular elements? That's the web component versions of Angular components. Will it improve the bundle size of elements? And I respond to probably not until view engine is actually removed from the framework codebase, maybe not even then without further effort. And unfortunately right now, Angular elements is not even on the Angular roadmap. So there's no time soon that improvements will be made, but maybe as a side effect of removing view engine at some point, probably not in version 12 entirely. Yeah, maybe then by accident or as a side effect, Angular elements bundle will be slightly smaller. But VJ then replies, thank you, waiting to implement something like the one you created below on a production scale. This was an experiment. I did quite a few when the first version of Angular Ivy was released a year ago, Angular 9. And this one was to see how small can you get an Angular Elements application. And yeah, I did a bunch of these. Let's see here. And this is my GitHub repo. Should be in my profile on Twitch. I am lazy DK. Lazy because I'm lazy. And DK because I'm from Denmark. But if we go to my repos here, let's see. Ivy or oh, sorry, that's a secret one. Yeah, there's a bunch of Ivy here. Should probably search for elements instead. Yeah, we can see there's a bunch of them here. I started with Hello World Angular elements, no ngzone with the browser platform, the Angular platform for the browser, one element, one Angular module, one component. And that was about 3.5 kilobytes gzipped. Then apparently I went and used a technique I developed called render, or sorry, no, not render modules. This is the render component function that was introduced as an experimental function with Ivy. So if you use this in production, you're on your own, it might break, be removed, or change in any version of Angular. So yeah, okay, so I am using render component, but I'm combining it with a feature render module, which is one of two techniques I developed to try to build Angular applications with fewer Angular modules. So this one has no ngzone like the first one. It has no platform, no Angular platform. So that should remove some dead weight. It still has one Angular module, one element, one component, but also one directive and one pipe. So it's more of a, we're adding more features of Angular, but we're removing the platform and using the render component function. And that actually takes it down another 20 kilobytes in gzipped. So even though we're adding more functionality, we're removing the heaviest parts of Angular, which is the platform and a lot of the rendering runtime payload. Yeah, and that actually brings the application down to something that's quite reasonable. Next one here I had, let's see, we're back to just a hello world Angular element that does exactly nothing. But I hacked the create custom element function from Angular elements to rather than using render components, since that's unstable. I did some magic to the create custom element function to also remove the platform ngzone, even removing an Angular module, so it's only one element, one component. And now we're at 21.1 kilobytes of gzip Angular elements. So next one here, that was, let's see, that was kind of a failed experiment, or I didn't finish it, so I didn't really add a description because it has some issues I discovered while experimenting with all this. Let's see, I think one of them is here. Yeah, this one I didn't actually consider until this person, Bitbaggy, pointed out. What about styles? And I think it's probably because I removed modules. Let's see, no platform. Yeah, so I probably removed modules, and I wonder what I did. But yeah, it broke styles. But someone tweeted about how to fix it. So fortunately, I put a reference here for that. That's pretty nice. Yeah, maybe we'll get back to that, because this is what we're looking into today. The final one here is the smallest one, 8.82 kilobytes of a gzipped hello world Angular element using render component. So we're back to the experimental API. There is no ngzone, no platform, not a single Angular module. That's how I like it. I wish we could do that for real. One element and one Angular component. So that's 8.8 kilobytes. That's the minimal Angular elements application using render components. So that's the smallest we can do. And this was marked that, or note that this was Angular 9.0, and now we're almost at version 12. So maybe it's time we start measuring, like, is there any improvement or degradation, even regression, in the bundle size of some of these experiments over the various versions of Angular. And yeah, it just happens that today I gave a talk at GitHub Satellite India. It was a virtual free conference with 2 tracks for 2 days. And I had, let me zoom in a bit so you can see it better. Let's see, day 2, I had in the open source track, I have dark theme on here, sorry. Still dark. Yeah, I had this lightning talk, the world's most elaborate CI workflow for an Angular library. And this is about the Angular logging library called Lumberjack. We actually created quite the holy grail of Angular library maintenance. We are testing it across many versions. I think it's 8 versions at this point, major and minor versions of Angular, using Github-actions. And we created a custom action for this called the ngworker Angular versions action. It's published on GitHub Actions Marketplace, and you can find it on the ngworker GitHub profile as well. What it does is it allows you in a CI job to replace all the Angular and related dependencies. So I got an idea. How about we try to combine these things? Like, I have made all these experiments, but I really don't want to duplicate them across all the different versions of Angular. So maybe we could do the same thing here, because the nice thing about this approach is it's a single source code base, and the GitHub action is what replaces the dependency, so that I don't have to manage that. So I can use the latest version of Angular and the GitHub action. Hey, Serkan, my one-man fan club, thank you for joining this late. You should go to bed soon as well. Yeah, so the GitHub action will manage the dependencies, and turns out that we could probably use this for more things than just library maintenance. Kind of removes all the work of maintaining this mess of Angular dependencies. So yeah, but then I realized that we don't currently support Angular elements in that action, as far as I remember, because we just added the ones that come with a new Angular CLI workspace, all those dependencies, and probably some build-related ones for library packaging and so on. So thank you, Vijay, for your questions and this idea that kept me up tonight so that I can do Angular after dark. I actually want to get into the repo now for this ngworker Angular versions action. So let's try to find it here, and I'll show you, try to explain a little about this code base. Well, I have so many. It's an ngworker, definitely. So this is our free and open source software group, ngworkers. We have a few projects here. We have Lumberjack, the logging library for Angular. We have a monorepo in ngworker for ngworker secret stuff going on here. The first one is actually already released. That's Spectacular, a testing library for Angular, and integration testing library for Angular, and more stuff coming eventually. We have the Lumberjack application insights driver. It's a community-driven Lumberjack log driver for Azure application insights. We have the Lumberjack custom driver. That's a template repo for for starting up a community-driven driver for Lumberjack. We have our team repo with some secret stuff, and we have the Angular versions action. This is a GitHub action that we created specifically for Lumberjack, but we made it reusable so that we can use it across libraries. And as we can see, Tim Schreier has interest in this one as well. He's maintaining several packages, including NGRX and Angular testing library, the Angular version of the DOM testing library. So he's actually interested in trying this out, but we have to add support for NX workspaces first. Right now it's only Angular CLI workspaces. But anyways, this is the repo. It should be available. You can have a link here to the GitHub Marketplace, and it still says it's highly experimental. That's not the case anymore, and we respect semantic versioning. We should probably figure out how to remove this one, and we should probably find a better name. Anyways, this is it. So you can add it to your GitHub Actions workflow and use it. This is the code base. What does it do? Should probably go find my talk for that, or the notes from today's GitHub Satellite talk. I'm on speaker deck, and should be this one. Let's see if I can find the slide about the GitHub action. Should be here, somewhere here. Here it is. It takes an input parameter, Angular version. You can pass it in a list of multiple versions of Angular you want to run a job for. It then goes and replaces more than 20 Angular and related dependencies, all the Angular packages and TypeScript and Zone.js and the builders and so on, the CLI. And we have verified that these combination of dependencies are still working, because they do, of course, break over time. So we're trying to give you just a turnkey solution for testing across versions of Angular, even minor versions, as you can see. So you're not specifying 11.x, you're specifying 11.0.x, 11.1.x, because sometimes it does affect you as an application or as a library, even minor versions of Angular, especially since some of them introduce new versions of TypeScript. And every version of TypeScript has breaking changes. It doesn't follow semantic versioning. Yeah, so that was about the Angular versions action. Here it is in practice. You can see that This is from Lumberjack. We're testing across all these versions of Angular and passing this github-actions matrix parameter, passing it down here to the ngworker Angular versions action, the Angular version number here. So this is what it looks like. It looks like you can find this code on the Lumberjack repo, also in the ngworker organization on GitHub. So, but I figured that we probably don't have support for Angular elements yet. These are some of the dependencies we're replacing, and I don't see any Angular elements, so we should probably add that. So that's what I'm going to try to do today. And as you can see here, we have a map, a JavaScript map, with an entry of the version number that will be matched. And we recently added all the 6.x and 7.x versions because we have interest from actually from the ngxs team. They're planning to rebuild their CI infrastructure and move to Github-actions, and they really like this approach. They have been testing across versions of Angular, but with a more rudimentary setup with a lot of more duplicate code. So once they start using our GitHub action, they can have a single source code-based solution so that they can have just one demo application, and it'll be easy to add tests across all these different versions of Angular with their state management library. So that's interesting. But if we want to go and create this experiment, sensitive content, yeah, it's my own GitHub repo with an Angular application. It should be censored for some reason. Okay, so if we want to do this experiment and test it across versions of Angular, we're going to need two things. We're going to need to add Angular elements to our GitHub action, and let's scroll down to the latest version. We're currently supporting 11.2, so there's no 12.x yet. That's because it hasn't reached release candidate level yet. So we're usually adding new versions when the first release candidate is released, as we see here, some leftovers from 11.2. Today, let's try to figure out how to add Angular elements to this ngworker Angular versions action. So let's see if I can find the code base for this on a separate screen. ngworker Angular versions action. And I'll get it all set up and zoomed in. I'm using Windows, Visual Studio Code. Yeah, ask me if you want to know some of this setup. That's not the topic for today. Okay, this is the repo. Let's just make sure we have the latest versions. I usually create this script and I call it invoke git prune. It's a PowerShell script. It goes and switches to whatever the main branch is of this repo, and don't know if you could see it here, but it then goes and deletes the branches that have been merged so that I don't have references to them anymore locally. And then it pulls the latest version of the main branch. So now I'm back to the main branch. I have the latest commit, and there's all the tags, but there's only one branch here, and that's a feature currently being worked on, supporting NX workspaces. So let's add a new one. Let's call it feature, and then support Angular elements. I hope this is big enough, or I'll try to change it in the next one, or let me know in the comments in the chat. So I don't touch this code base every day, but let's see if we can figure it out. It's a GitHub action. Well, there's several ways to build a GitHub action. This one is Node.js. Some are Docker images. And when running, you can create GitHub actions specific to a project. I've also been experimenting with that. In that case, you can create what's called composite run step actions. So in a GitHub workflow, this one is probably very basic, but you'll see we have this run commands, and that uses a shell to run a terminal command. So if you want to reuse some run commands, you can create a GitHub action for that, but it only supports run steps. So I've been trying to figure out how to get past that limitation and succeeded. So maybe we'll look at that another day. But yeah, today, this is a Node.js code base. We did add something like jest with some tests. But yeah, it's not our highest quality code base, but it definitely does the job, and we have end-to-end testing in that we use it for our own open source projects. So let's figure out how to add Angular elements. So certainly we need a version of Angular elements for each version of Angular. And first thing I'm trying to remember is when was Angular elements added? And it was probably, oh, where is 6.x? Am I not using, oh, where did I? We should have Angular 6.x. I saw that in the repo. Why do I not have this? Go back to the main branch. What's happening here? Update. Why does this look like the compiled version? Oh. Oh. So here's the TypeScript source files. Yeah, okay, so yeah, like I said, I don't touch this code base every day. Some of this is, I think the dist folder is what's actually being used as the GitHub action when you import that into CI workflow. But why do we then have this lib folder with the compiled? Oh, they're ignored, it seems, by Git. Okay. So probably just the TypeScript compiler or something. Okay, let's find those Angular versions. Now we should see 6.x versions. Here we go. Okay, so when was Angular elements added to Angular? Probably around the time of Angular 6. We could look that up. Let's try that. I'll need a browser. Go to npm Angular elements. Package page, zoom a bit in. Versions. Let's go all the way back in time. Yeah, it was 6.0 was released on the, is that the 5th of March or the 3rd of May? I don't know. I don't know if it's using the English format or my Danish format where the date is first and the month part is second. I have no idea. But yeah, it was sometime in early 2018 and it was version 6. So we should be able to add it to every version of Angular since then. Yeah, there's also a version 12 pre-release here. Okay, so that's not a problem. So we should have a version for each one of these. But first, this one is actually a type, package JSON version TypeScript type. So this is a dependency, Angular elements. It's not a development dependency. Let's go back to my branch here. and add it right here. That was the first step. One big step, or one small step for this project, one big step for Angular or something. Yeah, let me know if you find use cases for the Angular versions action. There's probably some interesting things here. I have some ideas now about experiments I want to run across versions of Angular, and this is one of them. So let's start preparing for this. I kind of figured we're missing some other packages, probably Angular CDK and Angular material, and some libraries might use them as well. So we should probably add them at some point. But for today, just the Angular elements in this branch. Okay. And is that going to invalidate? Yeah, all these types. So now I can see the whole file is red, as you can see over here in the scroll bar. So I'm going to have to add a version for each one of these, or it won't compile. So at least I won't forget. Yeah. So I will require Angular elements version. Let me just drink some water. It's probably slow because it has a, what's it called, like a git hook using Husky or something. I really hate those. Let the CI server do those, and I can run them if I feel like it. I don't want to sit and wait for it to be committed or pushed, or even both. That's even worse. But let's push it to a remote branch. I really don't like features sitting on my local machine. So it should be pushed and synchronized very often. That's how I work. Yeah. So how do we figure out these versions if we're lucky? Oh, yeah. Stupid git hooks. What happened? Is it because it's not compiling? Probably. I don't remember the setup for this one. It's probably almost simple setup. Prettier, and yeah, that's probably it. Lint test. Oh, it's the test that, probably the test that broke because of TypeScript not compiling right now. Tests being run, and they should fail because of TypeScript. Yeah. Okay, good. If that's all, but yeah, I really hate that this prevents me from pushing the branch to the remote, because I'm not pushing it to main, so it's not an issue, and I'll fix it as part of the PR. So please let me just push it, not this waste of time. Okay, so if we're lucky, the versions will be exactly the same. I'm pretty sure Angular Elements is synchronized with the rest of the Angular packages. Let's just double check. Or okay, so Angular generally has 3 groups of packages that are synchronized in their versions. There's the Angular framework group. That's all of the runtime dependencies. They all have the same version number. Then there's Angular CLI packages and related packages. And we can see here they follow 6.0.8, except for some reason the compiler CLI, which seems to follow the framework packages for some reason. These ones are still pre-release, so they say 0.6.8, but they will follow, like they will get increased like at the same speed as the Angular CLI one. So we should see those match. So those are 2 of them, and the final group is the Angular components packages. So Angular CDK, Angular material, probably the Google products packages, the YouTube player and the Google Maps. I wonder if they follow the Angular components packages versions, or if they're separate. I mean, they have a major release at the same time, I think, as the other packages, but yeah, I'm not sure. Anyways, I just want to double check that this is what I have to do. I just paste in the same number because it's probably following the version numbers of the runtime, the main Angular framework versions. But let's double check. Let's find that browser again. Was it this one? No, I'll reuse this one, this window instead. npm, go to Angular, or let's split the windows. That was not very elegant. Oh no. Look at the versions. Zooming in. Here we go. Okay, so Angular Elements is definitely not as popular as Angular Core. I wonder why. Yeah, but first of all, it's not part of the default packages, so you only install it if you need it. And of course, Angular Elements has some limitations and a specific set of use cases. Yeah. So versions. Let's scroll down. No, or sorry, we should be able to see it here actually. Okay, latest version of Angular Core 12 is next 6. The same for Angular Elements. How about 11? It's 11.2.7. Same for Elements. How about 10? 10.2.4, 10.2.4, 9, 1.13, the same here. 8, also matching. 7. Yeah, okay. Seems like they are synchronized, the versions of these two. So that makes my job easier for this feature. Just some manual work with little room for error. Yeah, so the same version number for Elements should work with this set of dependencies because they were released at the same time. So I'll just have to do this all the way down here. Elements. I really don't mind manual work. At least it's simple. But if I do it too many times, I'll find a way to automate it for sure. It's part of the job, right? What could be nicer than getting paid to copy paste code? Okay, so Sharkan just saw a comment now. I love Husky, you're saying. Okay. I hate Husky. It's free for open source. It's a paid product for work. So I don't really want to use it for work. I think Git hooks is built into Git, so I might, I mean, if I need it at work, I'll probably look into that. But then you're depending on having OS-specific scripts, unless you combine it with Node.js, but then you depend on a specific version of Node.js. So it's a bit of a, yeah, again, with the combination of dependencies you have to manage. But yeah, GitHub should be able to do the same, but of course it doesn't have as many nice APIs as Husky. But I'm really not a fan of Husky and not really Git hooks in general. At least if you put them in, make them fast, like really fast. Don't let me wait for all the tests to run. That's a waste of my time, and I'm not able to push my code, which sucks. Okay, version 9.1. Oh, yeah, it'll be interesting if I make a typo because every line is still red. So let's see how it goes if I can do this correct all these times. Elements. Elements. Is it getting boring yet? That's me. I'm almost done. I'll have to do it all over again for Angular CDK and material. But let's do that another day. Elements. Hey! The red is gone. Look at that. Wonder if I can run the test now. We're using yarn in this repo, aren't we? Yeah. Yarn test. Running jest. Is it happy? No! Probably the tests are missing angle elements. We have some test fixtures for unit testing this stuff. Okay, so I'll control click this one. So that should bring me to the file. And now I can go to the test fixtures, full package JSON, and that one, I wonder, oh, it doesn't have the right type. Oh, we suck. We suck so much. I have to fix this. What? Replace package JSON version with package JSON version. Oh, it's just prettier. Shut up, prettier. Like, is this what you want? Oh, that's ugly. Oh, that's ugly. And I have an extension that disagrees. So I'll have to disable that or figure out how to run prettier. TypeScript hero. No organizing my code. Prettier knows what's best. Oh, that's ugly. Oh, Nacho. We have to fix this. Okay, so let's also try to find this type inside of our test fixture. Oh, there you were. Full package JSON should be so. Probably in a different path. So where can we find it? Navigate up here. What? Nope. Here. Where are we now? I don't even know where we are in the folder hierarchy. Oh, we're inside of tests. This is why you put your tests next to your files, not in a test folder. Shame on you, Jest community. Types, problem types. Oh, there we go. Now it should complain. Yeah. Yeah, it should complain I don't have elements. Yes, it does. So adding elements. Well, I could. This one, it doesn't have anything to do with Angular. It's probably just because we're using it in this repo, or what's the what's the problem then? Can I just delete it? Oh. Oh, okay. So now it's not happy with everything that's not Angular related. That's probably why the type wasn't added. Yeah, this is not fully thought through, and I really hate wrestling with TypeScript. Sometimes it just adds more problems than solutions. Let's break the test, or let's let the test break rather than the stupid types. What's the problem? What? ESLint, you have no idea what you're saying. It's probably because these tests are in a separate folder. Well, I don't care. You're not my boss, ESLint. Let's see if the tests are passing. No, a failing test, or 5, or whatever. Oh. Okay, so which test are we in here? This test. Oh, we have more test fixtures. Nice. Manual work. Do we have more manual work for me? Surely we do. Where are you? Oh, this is a funny one. Doesn't have any of the Angular dependencies. Elements. What about you? Do you have elements? You do now. Elements for this version of Angular. You get elements, and you get elements, and you get elements, and you get elements. Okay. Is this the last one? Is it? Ah. Stupid fingers. Okay. Yeah, I'm not trying to be clever about this and say, oh, did I forget anything? I'm just letting the test speak. And if the test doesn't break, we didn't test it well enough. Okay, so here, which test are we in? We're still in this one. Yeah, I have no idea what all these tests are doing, just from the top of my mind. Replace forced dependencies when present in the package. Get Angular version. So this is like getting like the version 8 dependencies. And this is, let's see. Oh, this is our test fixture full with t-sickle JSON. Override. What is that? Is that part of the library? I don't even remember. Let me just close down these tabs. Oh yeah, this is the main juice. This is where things are merged. Like it's it's taking the intersection of the dependencies that are actually in your package JSON and the ones we want to replace if we find them. So we do that for the dependencies of package JSON and the development dependencies, but we also have a few forced dependencies. Both. We can have forced for deb and forced for dev dependencies. And that's because a very few dependencies have changed over time. So if you're running latest version of Angular, for example, you won't have t-sickle, you will have t-as-lib. So if you want to install older versions of Angular, you are going to need the t-sickle or t-as-ickle or whatever it's called. Okay, So calling that, which is basically the main part of this GitHub action. So what is this then? Oh yeah, okay, so that's the versions we want to replace them with, yeah. And this is the test fixture, and we're expecting the result to be this one, package.json version 8 with forest dependencies. So we're going to have to look at them, because it says that here in the test results that expected to see version 8 of Angular core, but we got 7 to 16. That's strange. Where did that come from? Is there any more errors like this? Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see here. This is the expected result. So this is what we should end up with having. Angular core and this was expected. Yeah, so the expected version is 8.03, but the actual version was 7 to 16. Where did the 7 come from? Because we should go to this one. This is the like this represents what would actually be in the repo, and you would say replace them with Angular 8.0. So what do we see here? No 7. So what's going on? It seems like there's a mutable state or mutable shared state somewhere. That's really bad. And I only touched this line of code, so what's going on? Where did this one come from, man? Wonder if I can find it. Must be somewhere. Code base. Oh. Oh. This is here 7.2 and in oh. Did I do this? Oh, I suck. I suck. How did I copy paste this? Or was it already like that? Yeah. What? How did I end up typing this? That doesn't make sense at all. Okay, let me do like revert this part. Yeah, like so. Now elements is gone. You happy now? Yeah. Who snuck in that typo? Like, who changed the version number? I certainly didn't. Is it you, Sirkan? Thank you. Thank you very much for hacking my computer, messing up our code. Okay, can we run the test now, please? And pass them. Yeah, I made a feature. Let's remove this. And I only had to touch 10 or 11 files. Okay. Add elements to test fixtures. Phew. I did it. Hopefully. Let's see if this github-actions workflow agrees. And Sharkan is going to sleep. Yeah. See you in the morning at 6:30. Well, is it that daylight savings time or standard time? Because that's changing in Europe tonight, isn't it? Okay. I have passing tests, so now I should be able to push to GitHub. Husky. Why are you so annoying? The CI server could have told me that. And I shouldn't be looking at a spinner for a minute. Okay, it's up. See you, Serkan. Okay, so that was the feature. Only one thing missing then. Adding a pull request. ngworker Angular versions action. Yeah, I want to do a pull request. No. Support Angular elements. Yes. Follows the guidelines. Yes. Tests have been added. Docs? No. I need to change any of the documentation. Maybe if there's an example here or something. No, there's not. Oh, great. Don't have to do anything. Not that this is the best documentation, but yeah. Like it shows version 1, we're at version 3 point something now. Oh well, that doesn't have anything to do with this feature, so I'll leave it for now. This is a feature. What is current behavior? Angular elements is not replaced if present in package JSON. Yep, that's the current behavior. There's no issue. What's the new behavior? Angular elements is replaced if present in package JSON. Yeah, minimal effort. Breaking change. I guess if you did have Angular elements before and you were using this package, it didn't replace them. So yeah, it might suddenly break your CI, but then you were assuming that it did replace Angular elements and it did in fact not do that. So sorry if this affects you, but it's not a breaking change from our perspective. It's a feature like adding support for another dependency. And like I mentioned, we're missing a few like Angular CDK and material. So let's add that another day. Should be it. Yeah. Create a pull request. And Serkan is sleeping, so I'll no, I'll just leave it here. Let's see. Serkan, you already saw it, so you don't count as a reviewer. I'll add Nacho, request him to review this. He is the father of this project after all. Okay, well, that's the first step. And then another time we'll go and create that. We'll revisit that example of a minimal Angular elements application. And we'll try to run the same code through different versions of Angular and see like what's the different in terms of bundle size. And I have no idea how we're going to like output those numbers or compare them. And the first step, I'll probably just set up a CI pipeline and visit the different jobs to take note of the bundle size or something. But surely we'll have to figure out how to a nice way of like updating a markdown file in the repos or something like that. But yeah, that was the work for today. That was Angular After Dark. So yeah, I'll continue this work some other day. Until then, have a nice weekend.